My guest today, organist Dr. Colin MacKnight, is called by composer and conductor Bob Chilcott a stunning player of exceptional ability. Somehow, and lucky for us, this young man graduated from Juilliard and recipient of a musical awards. He has landed in Arkansas as director of music at Trinity Cathedral in downtown Little Rock. Each week, he oversees a vibrant music program at Trinity. But that's not all. If you want to see him and hear some of his work, visit colinmcknight.com or visit flagandbanner.com for links to Colin. Today, we're going to learn about Colin's path to organ performance, life as a musician, how this New Yorker came to live in Little Rock, and about his work and training to perform the complete organ works of Johann Sebastian Bach, which he's planning in 2025. It is my pleasure to welcome to the table the creative, talented, organist, and giant of a man, Mr. Colin MacKnight. Okay, I got to tell everybody.
Dr. Colin MacKnight.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Colin MacKnight. Excuse me. I called you a giant because, how tall are you?
I'm 6'5".
And he weighs 110 pounds.
I wish. No, that wouldn't be good.
Is your family tall?
Yeah. My parents are both 6 feet. So when I'm fully grown, I'll be 12 feet.
Because you're adding them together.
That's how it works, right?
How about your sister?
She's 5'9". She's a shrimp.
You have a brother?
No.
All right. Many musicians come from a musical family. Is that you?
Mm-hmm. Yep. They're all musical. My mom's a professional singer, voice teacher, and also church musician. And my dad is an Episcopal priest, but he worked his way through seminary playing piano in bars.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's just like an Episcopal
That
priest.
tracks.
It is,
I've met
yeah.
your dad. That makes sense to me.
That's the reason I'm an Episcopalian, because we can drink at church. So much so that Grady doesn't drink anymore.
Yeah.
No. So, not this Grady.
Yeah, the one
The
off
older-
the table.
I see.
Our listeners are familiar with my dad.
Yeah, they are. Did you say your dad was an Episcopal priest?
Oh, well, he still is. He's kind of retired. He did the clergy retirement, which means that he's still working, but less.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you always know that you were going to go into this profession?
No, I had these aspirations of being very independent and doing my own thing. And then purely by accident, I ended up the son of an Episcopal priest and a classical singer. I, by accident, ended up becoming a church musician. But as a young kid, I wanted to do very different things. So I started on the guitar and I refused to learn to read music. But eventually I kind of migrated back.
How old were you when you picked up the guitar?
I was 5 or 6. I was pretty young.
So you didn't start playing this incredibly complicated organ until you were how old?
16. I was playing a lot of other things before the organ.
When did you learn to read the music?
6. My guitar teacher had none of that.
Oh.
She was great. She was my teacher for 12 years about.
So how many instruments do you play?
Well, I would say I play one of them sometimes well.
Sometimes well. I'm not going to bore our listeners with your accolades and awards, but you, how old are you?
I turned 31 2 days ago.
Do you have more awards than most people your age? Yes. Let's just say it. I've never seen such a list of awards for a 30-year-old. You won every competition you've ever been in and been given prizes.
I don't talk about the ones I didn't win.
Oh, well, that's smart.
Yeah. Right.
So when did you go to boarding school for any of this?
I did for 1 year.
You seem like a boarding school person.
Well, it was only 1 year.
You're well behaved.
Oh, thank you. It was reform school. Was
it really?
No, it was an arts boarding school. I was a double bass major there, actually, for my senior year of high school.
Stand-up bass?
Yeah, that was going to be my whole career and life path. But then I pivoted when I got into Juilliard for organ, and I preferred that.
Well, tell us about the pivot, because I think that people believe, or a lot of young people believe, that successful people know what they want to do. I mean, a lot of people are like, why'd you want to sell flags? I'm like, it was a series of events. It wasn't something I planned. So tell us how the events took place and how you ended up at Juilliard playing the organ.
Yeah, it was kind of circuitous. I mentioned I played a bunch of other instruments, and eventually I kind of landed on double bass. classical bass. So I was going to be in an orchestra or something for my career. And for my last year of high school, I went to Walnut Hill School for the Arts, an arts boarding school in Massachusetts that's associated with New England Conservatory in Boston. So every Saturday we took the bus into Boston and had our orchestra rehearsals and lessons and all that. But I also found a great organ teacher on the side while I was in Boston. And so I ended up throwing in organ applications at the conservatories that had organ programs. So I applied to 9 schools, some of which had organ programs, some of them didn't. And I was a much stronger bass applicant, but I preferred the organ by then. And so I got into Juilliard for organ and not for bass, which was kind of the opposite of how it should have been. And once that happened, I was like, all right, well, this is done.
You got into Juilliard for
organ.
But you were a novice.
Yeah, I was pretty new.
How come they took you? Because your dad's got street cred there because he's a church organist?
No, I don't think they cared about that much. And my dad's not an organist, really. But I mean, he's a priest, so he's in that business. But
I thought you said he played music for
piano.
Oh, piano.
Yeah, and he's dabbled in organ a little bit.
So how'd you get in there? Your mother's a professional singer. Do you have street cred? I mean, it's hard to get in Juilliard, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's like I don't know what the acceptance rate is these days, like 4% or something. But I think my teacher, Paul Jacobs, he was my teacher for all 10 years I was there. When I auditioned for him, I think he kind of just took a chance on me. He knew I was new, but I guess from what he heard, thought, well, maybe he has potential. And I'm really, really glad he did.
Hold up your hand. Do your finger spread. Is that a big spread for an organ?
Pretty big.
Yeah. So, but being tall, you have big hands. You can stretch that. What are the two notes you hit down here with your thumb and your little finger?
I can easily come down on a 10th. And if I really have time to set it up, I can do an 11th. Do
you know what that means, Greg?
Mm-hmm. So think like 10 keys on a keyboard or 11 keys on a keyboard. That's a pretty big interval. Yeah.
But what are the notes in a 10? Is that repeating?
It depends. But
I thought they repeated themselves all the way up and down the piano.
So like, for instance, what's an 11th in C major? Like, or from C to...
That would be C to F.
Yeah. So, but...
Does it go it goes to G? I know there's a G in there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you go past the G and keep going. If you said it starts over again, so you think it goes through that rotation.
C through G?
So, yeah, and then it keeps going.
There's no A, is there?
And then keeps
There's A
going.
and B, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where are they? On the keyboard? No.
Right
Mom, we're
C.
getting into a music theory lesson.
Oh, okay. Forget it. Yeah, we're gonna do a music quiz here in a little while. But
boy.
okay,
That could be really embarrassing. If I don't have the answers.
Mm-hmm. So I noticed that you said you were at Juilliard for 10 years because you went all the way to get a PhD.
Yes.
And,
actually, specifically a DMA, which is a doctorate of musical arts.
But it's like a PhD.
So there are PhDs in music, but the PhD in music is purely academic.
For teaching?
Yeah, specifically for teaching musical academia topics. DMA is a mix of performance and academics. And then if you want just the pure performance, then you can get an artist diploma.
So you listed in your resume that I read, and even in your biography, you gave a shout out to all of your teachers, which you already mentioned, Paul Jacobs for the organ, and then music theory, Dr. Latz, and then conducting, Kent Tridle, and service playing by David Enlow. So why is it important to list the teachers of who you learned under when you're filling out resumes? Because I don't see that on regular work. Is it because the community is so small, everybody knows each other, and so you're like, you're going to know this guy from Juilliard, so I'm going to tell you I got trained with him?
Yeah, I think there is some of that. My organ teacher at Juilliard, Paul Jacobs, is quite a well-known figure in the profession. He's the only organist ever to have won a Grammy. He's got a stellar career in both teaching and performing. His Grammy was for this gigantic work by Olivier Messiaen, Livre du Saint-Sacrement, which is over an hour long.
Yeah, and he won the Grammy for a recording of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So not a Disney movie. That's what I was thinking. Right. Really? That's what I thought. Yeah, they got great music on those Disney.
I don't think he has yet collaborated with Disney, but Disney, if you're listening, Paul Jacobs is your guy.
Yeah.
They probably already know that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, before we go to a break, last question, doctoral dissertation. You say it because it's Latin. What's the name of it? Your doctoral dissertation. Do you need to read it?
Exuno plures. Okay, I had to think about it. It's been a while, but Exuno plures, a proposed completion of Bach's Art of Fugue.
What's fugue?
Fugue?
Uh-huh.
Oh man, that's a tough one. A fugue is a type of a musical piece with very specific rules in it. There's a main theme called the subject, and the subject keeps coming in the different voices. So you'll have like the soprano part player sing it, and then the altos and the tenors and the basses, but it has to keep changing keys. Basically, it's one of the most virtuosic types of pieces you can write. And Bach was the undisputed master of the fugue. He wrote probably 1,000 of them.
But nobody but trained people can understand any of that stuff he writes.
Oh, I wouldn't agree with that.
You don't?
No.
I think you can listen to it and appreciate it without knowing exactly what a fugue is.
Yeah. I mean, even if you are trained, I don't think that even really brilliant musicians are going to hear every detail of a Bach piece on the first hearing or maybe even the 10th hearing. There's just too much there. And so my hope is that anyone can appreciate it on some level, even though nobody will probably ever fully get it, myself included.
Really?
Uh-huh. I still find things in pieces I've played for years. I'm like, oh my gosh, Bach, what a genius. What a jerk.
What a jerk. That's so true.
It is, yeah.
What a genius, what a jerk.
Well, they do kind of go together,
Oh, yeah.
you know. So you won a prize for it, Richard French Doctoral Prize for your dissertation. What, you told us the name of it, but why did they like it? What was different about your dissertation on Bach than anybody else's? Because it seems like probably everybody's done that.
Yeah, that was the danger with my topic is, I think with dissertations, you can either go really esoteric or you can do something like Bach's Art of Fugue, which is already really, really researched. And I tried to add something new to the existing Bach
What'd
research.
you add new? Can you remember?
Can I remember? So a little bit of background is that the Art of Fugue, this work, is an incomplete piece by Bach. And so what I was doing is trying to find out how Bach would have finished it, or if it's just lost, how he did finish it. And so I was trying to complete the work in a way that's not putting myself into it. It's just discovering what Bach was going to do, because Bach had all of these patterns and all of these habits and ways of doing things that indicate in great detail, down to the exact number of measures, like what he was going to do at the end of this piece.
So your dissertation actually was a musical piece?
Yeah. So it's
so you had that, you
a
wrote
whole lot of text, and then
you had the musical piece that supported the text.
Yeah, or maybe vice versa. All of a few hundred pages of text backing up my.
You're too smart for me to even interview. All right, this is a great place to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more with Trinity Cathedral's music director and organist, Dr. Colin MacKnight. Still to come, how this gifted New York musician who has played all over the world landed in Little Rock, Arkansas, and music talk for those interested in music or for those considering a career in music. We'll be right back. At flagandbanner.com, we have everything you need, from clothes to flags for Razorback tailgating. To get fanned out, come see me. All together now. Woo!
Big City!
We're speaking today with the talented organist and music director at Trinity Cathedral in downtown Little Rock, Arkansas, Dr. Colin MacKnight. Talk about life at college, the yearns, the fears, and how you went about getting a job afterwards. My granddaughter just left for college. I am reminded of how scary it is. You're from New York.
No.
You lived in New York.
I did once I went to school.
Oh, so I was going to say you live in New York, so you go to Juilliard. It's not that strange for you. But where did you come from? Where do you hail from?
Bethesda, Maryland, right outside of D.C. I lived a half mile out of the district.
That's close enough.
4 hours by car.
Yeah. That's like calling me a Texan. I'll take it.
Oh, don't let too many Arkansans hear you say that.
You know, when you tell people you're from Arkansas, they go, oh, Texas.
Yeah, especially on the other side of the world.
Yeah,
well, yeah.
So that's the way I am about Maryland and New York and New Jersey and D.C. and all that up there. It's all kind of right there in a train ride away from each other.
There's nothing like New York, though.
You're right. I love that city.
Yeah.
So talk about going there and how you accomplished, you faced your fears, which it sounds like you do a lot from all your competition, and then what you did afterwards about getting a job.
Well, I actually got a job my junior year, and so out of 10 years at Juilliard, I had jobs for 8 of them, including 1 year that was full-time work alongside full-time school, which was a busy year. Juilliard is a very strange, unusual place, and I really liked it. It's 850 people, all the way from bachelor's to doctorate. So it's a very small school, just this little building and a dorm high-rise next to it on 65th in Amsterdam, off of Lincoln Center. And when I was there, I practiced 6 to 8 hours a day. Had very few classes that weren't musical in some way. And the organ department was required to learn and perform a new piece every week in the weekly organ studio class. And that class is open to the public. So it's like a department recital every week. And that was amazing experience, having to learn and perform a new piece every week. Yeah, and for my first 5 or 6 years, it was always memorized. And it's scary. That is the scariest thing, playing every week on Thursday at 11 a.m. for your classmates, your teacher, and a small audience of people, some guests, and also some people who are there every week and who really know their stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that room doesn't hide a thing. So if you even think about hitting the wrong note, everybody will hear it.
How long did you have to? Well, how long was the piece that you memorized?
Oh, it varied a lot. I mean, at the shortest, a couple minutes. At the longest, a half hour.
Oh, so that'd be tough.
Mm-hmm. It varies.
So let's talk about you coming to Little Rock.
Sure.
How long after you graduated from college or Juilliard was it before you came to Little Rock?
It was just a couple months after my last graduation. So I got my doctorate in June of 21. I think it was June. And then I was here in July.
Applying for the job or working?
I was here working in July of 21.
Okay, Gray. This is for our listeners, for musicians who want to apply for jobs. You interviewed Colin and you came back and was telling me all about him.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, Colin. I told him he was too young. Don't hire him.
That's right.
I did.
He's fresh out of school.
Still get somebody fresh out of school.
No.
Get some experience. So Gray came back, though.
That's good advice.
So, that's an old person. But Gray came back and said, this guy is phenomenal. What was it in the interview that sealed the deal for you?
Oh, gosh. I have to remember. There were a few things. So one of the things that you look for in a church musician is obviously good musicianship, which 10 years at Juilliard, you better be a good musician, So we kind of knew that was coming with the package. But the other thing that you look for is how good they are as a music minister, meaning how personable they are, how well they get along with others, how well they work with other departments, how cordial, congenial, nice they are with the parishioners in your congregation. First impression I remember was that Colin was very articulate and professional in that video. This was still kind of during the height of COVID, in COVID at times. So it was a lot of video calls and meeting with people in masks and stuff like that.
Yeah,
outdoor
lunch,
receptions. Yeah. Yes. So that all seemed pretty professional, but I recall that you probably had the demeanor that fit the most with our congregation. You were professional without being cold, and it was and also friendly without being unserious, So yeah, I mean, I think just personality wise, you fit the bill maybe more so than as a musician.
Wow, that is that's good.
What were you expecting, Mom?
I don't know. That's why I was asking. So when you took the job, which I was surprised that you took. I mean, I was like, he's from New York and Juilliard. He's coming to Little Rock. What's he? So what?
I remember explaining that to you too. Yeah.
What? To who?
Yeah, about why somebody might come. You can answer this question.
Yeah.
but-
Why did you decide to come to Little Rock?
Yeah.
There's a lot of great stuff about Trinity and also Little Rock. I didn't know as much about Little Rock at the time, but so Trinity first. Trinity is one of the only parishes in the country to do weekly choral evensongs, which is an afternoon or early evening service that's mostly music, and it's one of the jewels of the Anglican tradition and the Episcopal tradition. But it's also, sadly, in the United States, it's pretty rare these days. Whereas in England, English cathedrals will usually do evensongs every day of the week with choir and different music every day. But the fact that we get to do it even once a week is really rare and unusual. So that's a big part of it. I mean, it's a very supportive congregation. My boss, the dean of the cathedral, Amy Daffler-Moe,
Who's been on this podcast?
Oh, great. She's so wonderfully supportive, and, every crazy idea that I have, usually she's like, all right, let's try it and see how it works. And the whole community's been that way.
What'd you find unexpected about Little Rock that you didn't expect?
Interesting. It's a lot hillier than I thought it would be. So the first 3 weeks that my now fiance and I were here, we lived in Kerry's guest house.
That would be my back guest house.
Which was wonderful. And driving from Trinity to the guest house, you go up a lot of hills at the end, and there's one that's like crazy incline.
Cantrell.
No, not Cantrell. It's farther up in Hillcrest. Like you've already turned onto from Cantrell. What is that road off of?
Probably Alsop Park Road.
Alsop, yeah. Then there are some roads up there, and so I did not think that Little Rock was going to have these 30-degree inclines or whatever it is.
So, what would you say you love the most about Little Rock? Not the church, but the city.
So, to probably incorrectly use a sports metaphor, I think Little Rock really punches above its weight. Is that right?
Yeah.
Did I get that? Okay, good. For its cost of living, because it's got all of these great things that a city of 200,000 probably wouldn't usually have.
Like a symphony.
The symphony and theaters and the ballet and the art museum and the presidential library and a church that does weekly choral evensongs. It's got lots of stuff that is really special.
And what did not live up to your expectations? Be honest.
I haven't found a Thai restaurant I'm happy with yet.
That's because they're. You have to go to Northwest Arkansas for good Thai food.
Okay.
How did you talk your fiance, or I don't know if she was your girlfriend at the time, Marilyn, who is now your fiance? How did you talk her into coming here? Because she's also a singer.
Yeah, she's a singer. She sings at St. Mark's.
Why don't you let her sing with us?
Ask her. She wants to give me my space.
Yeah, I can't believe it. Anyway, all right, go ahead.
I think it makes some sense.
How'd you get her to come?
Wasn't very hard, actually. She, we had been in New York through COVID, and that was, being in New York for COVID, it was it's why bother? We're paying over $2,000 a month in rent to hang out in the apartment. That's not why you pay for New York prices.
Ready for a change.
Yeah, so she was ready for a change, and she also worked remotely, or mostly remotely, and so there was a decent chance that her job could transition to being fully remote, and that is what happened.
One of your courses you took was on service playing. Is that because you have to be an organist, you have to pretty much be in a church?
Mostly. There are some exceptions. I mean, my teacher at Juilliard is one of those exceptions. But for me, it's not something I do because, I'm an organist and I have to make a living, so I guess I'll do church. No, I actually really love doing church and find it to be such an interesting combination of skills that I think many classical musicians, they really just do one or two things, they play in the orchestra or they do their chamber music. But if you're in church music, then you've got improvising and solo repertoire and conducting choirs and working with professionals and working with amateurs and working with kids. So it's so wonderfully varied, and I do really love that.
Describe a pipe organ for someone who has never seen one.
Huh. So the part that you play, it's sort of piano-like, except it has multiple keyboards and it has a keyboard for your feet. And the way it makes sound is the way that a flute makes sound, or a clarinet, which is through these pipes. And so the keys control pipes, and it lets air through the right pipes at the right time.
So it's not like a piano that's really an upright harp, or a
hammered
harp is
harp, yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, like a piano is a harp on its side. So an organ is not like that.
No, it doesn't have any percussion. Well, it sometimes does a little bit, but mainly no. It's the differences between the piano and the organ are really extreme, actually, and most people are not good at both. Some people think they're good at both, but most people are not good at both.
And you lump them together in your mind because they both have a keyboard. So you think of them as the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're so different, though. I mean, I would not claim to be a good pianist.
Really?
No.
All right, this is a great place to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Trinity Cathedral's talented music director and organist, Dr. Colin MacKnight. Still to come, how to follow Colin and attend one of his concerts like the one he is working on now for 2025, a complete organ works of Johann Sebastian Bach. We'll be right back.
Today at flagandbanner.com, we're installing large mesh banners on our new addition. Mesh banners provide protection from the wind and rain, but are more durable in high wind areas. Before you drill into your building, call the experts for high-quality banners and professional installation.
Look at all that gray hair.
He's definitely an expert.
Flagandbanner.com has been helping our customers for over 45 years. For advice on functional and beautiful banners, call flagandbanner.com.
We're speaking today with the talented organist and music director of Trinity Cathedral in downtown Little Rock, Arkansas, Dr. Colin MacKnight. Before the break, we talked about how Colin went to Juilliard, about going to college and the fear of going to college and facing your fears, and how facing your fears really builds character. So just remember that, everybody. I'm always trying to tell everybody that all the time. And then we talked about music in the church and interviewing for the job here and why he picked Little Rock, Arkansas. And he actually likes it here, like so many people we interview that are transplants. So now we're going to talk about what you're practicing right now. You're doing the complete performance organ work of Johann Sebastian Bach. Tell us about that. It's his 275th anniversary of his death.
Yes, in 2025.
And he's still relevant.
Oh, yeah. Super relevant. So that's a very big project because he wrote about 18 hours of organ music, and his organ music is no joke. Sometimes one page of his organ music can take, 5 hours, 10 hours to learn. And my complete Bach organ music volumes, they're about this big of a stack. So what is that? 14, 16 inches of music.
Yeah, that's tall.
It's a lot, yeah.
That's sheet music?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
How much music did this guy make?
Tons.
Yeah, he was sort of unfathomably prolific, and historians still don't understand how he did everything he did, because he composed like someone who had nothing else to do, but he had a lot of other stuff to do.
What did he do?
Well, it depends on...
Besides perform?
Depends on which part of his career we're talking about, but if we're talking about like the end of his career, the last 20-some years, which he spent in Leipzig, then he was conducting...
Which he spent where?
In Leipzig, Germany.
Oh.
He was doing services, playing and conducting. He was preparing the orchestra for all of these services because they almost always had orchestra and choir. He had to compose a new large work called a cantata every week, which those cantatas can sometimes be 20, 30 minutes. So he wrote a new one every week. And then he had to orchestrate it and copy out the parts. And then he also had to teach Latin and math and whatever else was needed of him. And then he was also doing sort of civil or civic musical duties, like conducting for concerts and special services for like, I mean, he has some funny secular pieces, like a coffee cantata. And so
What's that? Drink coffee and listen to it?
Yeah, it's a piece about coffee.
Does it have words?
Yeah.
In Latin?
Did not know this.
German.
That's hilarious.
I think probably in German. Yeah. So he was writing for secular things too. And so I mean, the amount that he
Maybe he didn't
did-
write it all.
Well, so it's funny you mentioned that because one of the things that someone doing complete Bach organ has to figure out is which pieces they're going to do, because there are what are called spurious pieces, which are pieces that are attributed to Bach, but are almost certainly not by him.
Oh.
And so I mentioned the 14 to 16 inch stack. A little bit of that is stuff that I'm not going to play because it's almost certainly not by Bach. But most of it's just Bach, and I have to suck it up and learn it.
So people that read his stuff can tell whether he wrote it or somebody else.
Yeah, actually, yesterday or the day before, I was reading through a piece. And I was like, this is really sketchy in some ways. And I Googled the piece and did see that it's spurious. I'm like, oh, thank God I don't actually have to learn this one.
Why are you challenging yourself to learn all of this? How many hours is it going to be?
Because he's the Bach guy.
How many hours is it going to be when you've learned it all? How many hours of playing?
It's 18 hours of music.
And you're going to break it up into different
Yeah, so
performances, I guess.
I'm not going to do what my teacher at Juilliard did. He played it all in one concert on, it was in 2000. And so that would have been the 250th anniversary of Bach's death.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he might have done it on the death anniversary or maybe Bach's birthday, one of those special days. And he did it all in one go. He just took a break to have a cup of Cozy Shack chocolate pudding. That's the only thing he ate during those 18 hours.
Well, the audience just came and went and came and went and came
Yeah,
and went.
and some diehards spent the whole time there from 6 a.m. to 12:18 a.m.
Well, they could nap in the pews. So was he up there doing lines or something? How did he stay up
Yeah,
there?
right.
I mean, really? Was he got his bottle of Ritalin on the
Dude,
counter? I mean,
yeah.
how's he
He
doing
says
that?
it was just the pudding,
It was just the pudding.
the one cup of pudding.
little chocolate. Get your bread.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm not doing that.
No, thank you. That sounds like it would be really hard
torture.
on you.
No, I couldn't do that. No. So I'm doing mostly these Wednesday lunchtime recitals at Trinity. Wednesdays at 12:15, so for just 30 minutes every week. There's one exception, which is on July 28th, Bach's death anniversary. I'll do what's called Klavierbung 3, which is his largest organ work, and that's about an hour 45. And I'll do that all in one go that night.
In an evening.
Yeah.
When are you starting this?
January 8th. So January 1st is New Year's Day. I don't expect anybody to want to come listen to Bach on New Year's Day, so we're starting the next week.
Speaking of listening to music, what do you and Marilyn listen to when you're cooking?
It depends who's picking the music. Usually it's Marilyn.
Smart husband.
Just keep my head down. She plays a lot of
Toto.
Frank Sinatra. No,
I would love that.
kind of like
Frank Sinatra.
classic stuff. Yeah, Frank Sinatra and Ella Fitzgerald and that kind of stuff.
Etta James, that kind of music. That's the kind of music my husband listens to besides country. Y'all listen to country music
No,
now that you moved to the country? Well, we're going to have to turn you on to
Sorry.
some old classics. You got to listen to Johnny Cash.
Yes.
He's from Arkansas.
Yeah, Arkansas.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
cool.
And so is Glenn Campbell
Yep. Classic.
and Conway Twitty.
Yeah.
So those are
See,
the
that's like classic country. You gotta.
they're all dead too, so you got to listen.
That's
It's like Bach.
right. Yeah.
You could perform it on their death anniversary.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I'm really getting off. Have you listened to Florence Price, the celebrated composer from Arkansas?
I have. I've even played a little bit of her music.
I think that was the first concert of yours I went to. Was when you did a little Florence Price.
Oh,
I
really?
think so. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was like a year and a half ago now.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Okay, maybe not the first then, but yeah.
You know, it's actually funny is that that concert where I played that Florence Price piece, that was right before this big competition I did. And the competition, they had one required piece and it was by Florence Price. And I was like, oh, that's fun. You know, this Little Rock native. And here I am competing, this Little Rock guy.
I think there's so much serendipity in life. It just freaks
Yeah.
me out all the time. How many hours a day do you practice?
Gosh. Well, now that I have a big boy job, you know, a really good day is like 3 hours. And a not good day is not playing at all.
Is that because your job gets in the way?
Yeah, those pesky jobs.
I know.
Jobs in
And
life.
no, it's great though. I mean, my job does include practice time.
It does or doesn't?
It does.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you're practicing 3 hours and then you're playing for your job another couple of hours.
Yeah, it's a mix. I mean, all of my practice time does not fit into, with all my other work, it does not fit into 8 hours a day.
So what is this ensemble that you have created? The Trinitas?
Yeah, the Trinitas Ensemble.
Is that still around?
It is. Next concert, September 20th.
Are you singing in it,
7:30
Greg?
p.m.
No. I
September.
have some friends that are, though.
Yeah, I saw all your friends in it. September the 20th.
It's
At
great. It's a
7:30.
great ensemble.
Thanks.
Yeah. I went to the last concert. It was so good.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, yeah. It's great.
September the 20th,
Cathedral
7:30.
St. Andrew.
St. Andrews, the
Yeah.
Catholic Church downtown, right?
Yeah.
They're mostly, they look like, when I looked through there, like they were from all congregations. It wasn't,
The singers?
yeah.
Yeah, it's a mix. Trinity people, St. Andrews people.
Is Marilyn singing?
She is. She's a meso.
Praise the Lord, I'm going.
Yeah.
And then the Bach that you're going to start on Wednesdays at Trinity for lunch. It's a brown bag. Bring your lunch, right? Would you say? Or is it in the cathedral?
It's in the
Oh,
cathedral.
you got to be in the cathedral. So you
Yeah.
can't bring your lunch. You can't eat in the cathedral. People, you can't eat in the cathedral.
Yeah, I would want to double check that before
No,
I
you
say
can't eat in
anything
the
public. Yeah.
You can't. But it's 30 minutes Wednesdays at
Yeah.
noon.
12:15,
Starting
on January 8th.
Great. Write all that down and let's make sure we make notes for him. Now, let's talk about the business of music.
Mm.
So I had to look up. You kept using AGO. I was like, what is AGO? It's the American Guild of Organists.
Mm-hmm.
Are you still on the board in the New York chapter?
No, but I'm dean of the Central Arkansas chapter.
Oh, so there's
There's one here. They're all over the place.
in every state?
Probably.
But
Yeah, I
there's
think so.
how many organ players are there in the world? There's just, you can't just, I mean, you have to work in a church because you can't have a pipe organ anywhere.
Well, think about how many churches there are.
A lot of
Well-
churches. And also, yeah, you don't need to be a serious player to be in the guild.
Oh,
You can just, be an appreciator.
and you could have a small organ. You don't have to have a pipe organ.
Mm-hmm.
You could just play an organ in your house or
Yeah.
something.
As long as you pay dues, you can be in the AGO.
So I've noticed that you do a lot of competing.
Mm-hmm.
Does everybody in your industry do a lot of competing, or is that just a self-inflicted pain you put on yourself?
I think more the latter. Some people do a fair amount. Yeah, and I've done a lot, but now that I'm 31, there aren't a whole lot of competitions I'm still young enough to do.
Oh, really?
I'm over the hill.
So I can understand that you might want to set a goal, and then it forces you to practice because you have a deadline.
Mm-hmm.
So I can understand that. So I think that young artists should think about competing more because it forces you to
Yeah.
hone your skill. You know.
Mhm. Yeah, I generally had great experiences, even if I didn't win. Met new people and made new connections, and I had this thing to work towards, as you mentioned. Yeah.
I always got to have something to work towards in my life. So travel is a big part of your career. Does everybody in the organ business have to travel?
Well,
I noticed you've played all over the world.
if you're just doing church, then probably not so much. But if you do concerts and competitions, then yeah, there will inevitably be traveling.
Competitions, I feel like, are something for, at least for a lot of classical musicians, it's like a prudent career choice at a certain age. You're getting yourself out there. It, like you said, you're setting goals for yourself. It's good to put on your resume.
You're connecting with other musicians.
Totally,
It's
yeah.
great for networking.
Yeah,
So that's a good reason to think about it too.
Yeah.
So you say you are represented in the North American by Karen McFarland Artist. Is that a talent agency?
It is specifically for concert organists and choirs.
So if I wanted to hire you, I would have to call your talent agency.
You would. John McElliott is the guy.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Did he help you get your job here?
No, he doesn't do that kind of work, as far as I know, of getting involved in church hires. It's really just concerts. So if, at Trinity, I wanted to bring in some hotshot recitalist, then I could call John and be like, hey, I want to bring in the organist of Notre Dame in Paris or something. And, he'd say, okay, well, here's his fee and here's when he's available and that kind of thing.
So who are some of the ones you've brought in that you really like that you brought in from other places to play at Trinity? I remember there was a vocal coach you brought in one time that was really good.
Oh, yeah. Connor Liddell. He's been here twice, and he's amazing. Yeah, so we've brought in a number of different people. Connor, who's a Dallas-based baritone and voice teacher, fabulous singer, fabulous understanding of vocal anatomy.
Yeah. Boy, when he sings, he uses his whole mouth.
Oh.
You know?
Yeah. He uses his whole body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the real deal. And we've brought James O'Donnell, who was the director of music of Westminster Abbey. He's now on faculty at Yale. He spent a weekend with the choirs, and he also gave a lecture at Trinity. We've brought 2 different organists to accompany silent movies.
I was hoping you're going to bring that up.
Uh-huh. Yep.
What?
You not been to the silent movies yet?
No.
Oh, on Halloween, not Night of the Living Dead. What's the vampire one? The Nosferatu, yeah.
Oh, that was the first one we did.
So fun.
Yeah, so there's this tradition of back when movies were silent, the theaters would often have an organ in them, and you'd get this expert improviser to improvise an accompaniment for the movie. And so we've done that twice, and we're doing it again on October 10th.
Write that one down.
This time the movie is Hunchback of Notre Dame, the 1923 silent film.
Oh, that'll be good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
I missed the second one. What did we do last year?
The Navigator, Buster Keaton.
That was it.
That was a very funny movie.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
The
Great
Nosferatu
comedy.
was so fun just because I think that kind of stereotypical kind of like creepy aesthetic of the pipe organ goes so well with those like kind of campy old horror movies, the spooky vibe. Yeah, it's very fun.
You know Charlie Chaplin. Are you going to do any with him?
That'd be fun.
Oh, yeah.
Charlie Chaplin, for anybody who wants to know, he's got a documentary on Netflix that is off the chain. Did you know he created United Artists Theater?
Yes, I did.
I did not.
He was an unbelievable businessman and was the most famous person in the world at one time. Charlie Chaplin.
I know, right?
Chaplin.
Yeah.
Charlie Chaplin.
Uh-huh.
The guy that walks funny with the hat and the cane.
I know. He's so funny, though. Modern Times.
Well, his documentary,
movie.
and he got ran out of America during McCarthy. Was it McCarthyism that started saying everybody was communist?
Yeah,
They ran him out of the country, and he lived a sad ending to his life.
Oh, man.
I know. It's really a bummer. It's a really good story.
Huh.
I think this is another great place to take a break. We've been speaking with the tall, talented music director and organist, Dr. Colin MacKnight from Trinity Cathedral in downtown Little Rock. Next, tips and encouragement for budding musicians and a recap of how to follow Colin and attend one of his performances. We've told you 3 of them in the next 6 months, I think. We've done the
your Bach series, the upcoming silent movie performance.
silent movie. What's the Bach series? Oh, Bach, B-A-C-H.
Yeah.
I was thinking, what's a Bach series? And then what was the other one we said? Trinitas.
Oh, yes, the Trinitas
The
concert.
Trinitas concert. So, yeah, come back and we'll tell you again. We'll recap all of those. Hey, kids, what does Flag and Banner have for back to school?
I'm taking Penance to the swim team. I'll be back. They need a new flag for the auditorium.
Hey, Megan, don't forget to change their outdoor flag.
Yes, ma'am.
flagandbanner.com. We're the experts. We're speaking today with the talented organist and music director at Trinity Cathedral in downtown Little Rock, Arkansas, Dr. Colin MacKnight. So before the break, we did some great talking about how he got to Little Rock and about being a musician. But now we're going to talk to him, and I'm going to give him a quiz on classical words.
Oh, boy.
You know,
Oh, man.
people come to Trinity and to really any of these Anglican churches, and they're a little bit turned off because the music, y'all, is so hard to sing. I mean, the Southern songs are like going down to the river, and, you know, I mean, they're easy. We've heard the Baptist Southern songs.
Oh, you mean
for-
like the hymn book? Yeah.
Yeah. But then you go into ours, and Grady's always like, well, Colin picked the hardest song to sing on the planet.
I don't know. I don't think his choices are
Well,
that
that's
bad.
because you're an opera singer, Gray. But
you
if
should look through that book. There is some
Crazy stuff in
weird
there.
stuff in that book that I don't touch.
well,
There's one called it's either Petra or Petrus. I always mix those two up, but it's in the Easter section, and it is totally crazy.
I'm going to look it up now.
It's pretty funny.
The
y'all are such geeks.
geeks, church music geeks.
All right. So one of the things about church is they don't call a sermon, they call it a homily. They don't call the janitor a janitor. They call him the sexton. They don't call the garden, they call it the garth. I mean, I had to come and take.
So are these church terms or music terms?
I don't know music terms, but I have music ones right here.
Okay.
That daughter Megan just printed out for me.
Oh boy.
So what's a chanty?
Oh, well, that's not really the classical
No,
world.
that's
but,
not classical.
That's like a
shanty?
like a ship song, right?
Yeah. I was trying to trick you on that one. It's a sea song.
You almost did.
That's what sailors do.
All right. Crescendo.
Like, what do you do with a drunken sailor or something?
Crescendo.
Crescendo.
Get louder.
That's right. Everybody knows that one.
Easy.
What's up about a decrescendo? I can guess that one.
Yeah.
Means get even louder.
Don't lead the kids
No,
astray,
it means
Colin.
soft. No, it means softer.
That's right. That's
Decrescendo.
correct. That is
D. Use your Latin here. Didn't you have to learn Latin?
A few words.
Did you have to learn it to be a classical performer?
No.
What languages did you have to learn?
I took a few years of German, and in middle school I took Spanish.
Oh, wow.
I took a bunch of language because I was a vocalist.
Yeah, if you're a singer, you need a lot.
You did opera, Italian. I mean,
English,
German, Italian,
German, French. Yeah.
and French. Yeah. See, whenever we have anybody on that's foreign, he has to talk to him for me.
Translate.
All right, here we go.
Translate's a stretch.
Largo.
Slow
That's right.
or long.
Libretto.
Libretto is the script of an opera.
Yeah, why don't they just call it a script? See, that's the kind of stuff that drives me nuts. Mezzo.
Mezzo.
It
So
means EZO.
Marilyn is a mezzo.
Soprano.
An alto. Yeah, essentially.
They're my favorite voice. It's the low soprano. What pop star is a mezzo soprano?
Adele. She's a mezzo.
Oh, see, and everybody loves her. Everybody loves that. You know, and everybody loves the man,
consider
the baritone man. Everybody
Sure.
loves
well,
the
like
baritone.
every crooner is a baritone. You know, like Frank Sinatra, like we were talking about.
What's Josh Groban?
Baritone.
See, everybody loves that.
Connor's a baritone.
Connor. Yeah. Yeah.
The guy who's come to Trinity a
Connor
couple
Liddell.
times.
Yeah. Who we're just talking about.
That's coming new to
Who
Trinity.
sings with
the-
his whole mouth.
The,
The guy that sings. Yes, he does. His tongue does some curls and really, I mean, he really works at every note sounding perfect. Okay, how about this? Neumes.
And neumes.
Yeah.
So neumes are the names of the notes in like medieval notation.
It's a note before the note. Notes before notes existed.
Did you know that too, Gray?
I wouldn't have been able to tell you, but I've heard it before. Yeah.
There's an opera, a musical drama, and then there's an operetta.
Shorter opera, perhaps with some spoken parts instead of sung all the way through.
Oratorio.
Oratorio, that is opera-ish, but it's not staged. And they're not always, but often sacred.
Ostinato.
Ostinato,
Yeah.
that is a repeating figure.
You have getting an A for all of this. Requiem. We all know what's a requiem. A lot of people don't know what a requiem
is. A
is.
mass for the dead.
Yep.
Retrograde. Sing backwards.
Yeah,
Who does that?
Well, retrograde is when a musical idea is done backwards, so from last note to first note. Even Beethoven actually uses retrograde here and there.
All right.
It's hard to hear. It's very hard to hear.
Staccato.
Very short note.
Short and snappy.
Exactly.
Syncopation.
When the offbeats are emphasized rather than the onbeats.
I think people like to hear that.
Oh, yeah.
Syncopation
people-
can be very
it's-
cool.
Colin, you're giving such better answers than I would.
Oh.
I know all these definitions, but yours are a lot more concise and articulate.
Concise.
Oh, thank you.
All right,
I'm
Colin,
trying.
when you lie in bed, okay, you got an A, Gray, you got a B.
Yeah,
Oh.
definitely.
When you lie in bed and you're dreaming as a child musician, getting ready to go off to Juilliard, what did you visualize yourself doing and accomplishing? You kind of said you thought at the beginning of the show that you would be in an orchestra. Where did you think you'd be in an orchestra? And I can just say this. When I was a kid in college, I dreamed of living in New York in an awesome apartment, wearing fine clothes and being a model. None of that worked out, except for the fine clothes. I still wear
right.
fine clothes.
That's right.
Yeah, that is a cool dress.
Thank you for noticing. But so when you were laying in bed, maybe at Juilliard, what were you dreaming about?
I don't know if I've ever
Don't be
been
shy.
that dreamy. I'm very goal-oriented, but in like pretty, I think, short-term ways. You know, like I got to do complete Bach next year. I guess, you know, getting a job at a cool Episcopal church that does neat things and having a good place to live and having some cute dogs and a pretty lady.
White picket fence,
Yeah, maybe.
so to speak.
I mean, yeah, I was
You
during
left out.
college. I was in New York and loved New York too.
You left out babies.
Oh, God.
I'm obsessed with babies. I had
I know.
4.
Yes.
How long?
Mom's on the grandkid. Mom's always on the grandkids.
I'm always on the grandkid.
Spiel.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
Well,
lo-
the grandkids are God's reward for not killing your own children.
that's right. That's
I'm
right.
telling you, I'm telling you, if we'd have had better birth control when I was young, I wouldn't have the kids I have because they were all accidents. But I will say,
Can confirm.
the grandkids are what make it all worthwhile.
Oh,
it's
that's
crazy.
sweet.
It's fantastic. So how long do you think you will stay in Little Rock?
Oh man, I have no plans to go anywhere. We bought a house. We love the house. Our dog is a native Arkansan.
Did you get a brown dog, Arkansas brown dog? What'd you get?
As they
No,
say.
we got he's a mix. He's blonde. He's like a blonde German Shepherd.
Oh, cute. Got a lot of energy, I bet.
Yeah, he keeps us on our toes.
Yeah,
He's too smart.
that's good.
He opens doors. Yeah.
Oh, what?
hmm Yeah.
All right. What do you want our listeners to take away from this interview?
I guess some bit of shameless self-promotion. The Bach
Yeah.
is a good one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That, you know, it's not every day like you get to hear the complete organ works of Bach. I'm not sure how many people have done that, but I can probably name like 5 people alive now who have done that. And so I think it's a cool opportunity. If you've got Wednesday afternoons available to you, come by Trinity and treat yourself to a half hour of Bach's organ music.
And learn to love classical music. Some people grow up loving it. Gray listened to chamber music when he was 14 years old in his
Aw.
bedroom when everybody else was listening to rock. I would hear this. Who was that chamber music you listened to back
Oh, I
then?
don't know. It was all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But yes, to your point. But also, just to piggyback on what Colin was just saying, if you are in Little Rock and you are interested at all in learning a little more about Bach, Colin is probably the best opportunity to hear it in the way that it was meant to be that you'll ever get. You will never hear an organ played like you would if Colin was playing it. It's going back to your job interview. I mean, it was kind of next level when you touched that organ. We were all like, whoa, you know? So this, dear listener, it's an opportunity.
free.
It's an opportunity to really
It is free.
hear an instrument that you probably hear all the time, but in a way that you've never heard it before.
I'm going to put it on my calendar. Any tips for advice for budding musicians?
Practice slowly.
Really?
Yeah. Because if you're trying to play something faster than your brain can do it, or your brain can comprehend it, it's not good practice. It's probably harmful.
And one that we learned when Gray was playing piano a little bit was you don't repeat, like he would play the thing and hit the mistake and then start over and then hit the mistake. So when you hit the mistake, how do you correct yourself on the mistake?
Slow it down.
Slow it down and just do it real repetitive to get the muscle memory on how to do it right.
Yeah, and if I were a machine and completely 100% perfectly disciplined, then I would make sure I never practiced faster than would cause me to play a wrong note. Essentially, perfect practice would mean never making a mistake, because it would mean you're always doing it slowly and deliberately enough that you don't give yourself the chance to screw up. Obviously, that's unrealistic, and people will make mistakes.
But your hands are a muscle memory, and if you do the muscle memory wrong, you got to do it right. You got to do it right. You got to do it slow. You got to do it right.
It's all kinds of memory: muscle memory, visual memory, oral memory, intellectual memory.
Is that why all musicians are smart? Seems like all of them are.
I don't know if all of them are.
I think we all are brilliant geniuses.
Jeez Louise.
All right, tell our listeners how to follow you and stay abreast of any upcoming performances. Are you on Facebook?
I'm on Facebook. It's just my own personal page, but I'll probably accept you as my friend.
And MacKnight is not spelled typical. Spell MacKnight.
It's MacKnight. And then
ColinMacKnight.com.
Mm-hmm. Colin with one L.
Yeah.
Not Callan, just Colin.
And you don't, and you, do you update it and put your performances on there, or do you have a website and you don't ever go there?
I'm pretty good with the website.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you want to book you, can they go to that website and get Karen McFarland's art name?
Yeah, it's there somewhere. You can also just go to concertorganists.com, I think, or maybe concertorganist.com.
And find you or find her?
It would take you to the website for the whole agency. The agency, it's named after a woman, but it's now run by a gentleman named John McElliott.
We've been speaking today with the talented organist and music director of Trinity Cathedral in downtown Little Rock, Arkansas, Dr. Colin MacKnight, who is also 6'5" tall and has a lot about to go on here soon. I want to give you this. I didn't realize you were from Maryland. Before you leave, I want to give you a desk set with the Maryland flag. That's New York, Washington, D.C., and Arkansas. Is there anywhere else you lived besides Maryland?
Massachusetts.
So, Gray, when y'all walk out to the store downstairs,
should I just give him
a Massachusetts, change out his base.
So nice.
It's a 5-hole. He's Massachusetts, Maryland, and
You've got a quintuple bass. Very cool.
That's right. In closing, we've been speaking today, as I said, with the talented organist and music director of Trinity Cathedral in downtown Little Rock, Arkansas, and you can log on to his homepage or his Facebook page and learn about his performances coming up. But I want to tell our listeners, this show has been recorded in the historic Taborian Hall in downtown Little Rock, Arkansas, and made possible by the good works of flagandbanner.com, Mr. Tom Wood, our audio engineer, Mr. Jonathan Hankins, our videographer, daughter, Miss Megan Pittman, production manager, and my co-host, Mr. Grady McCoy IV, a.k.a. Son Gray. We'd like to thank you for spending time with us. We hope you've heard or learned something that's been inspiring or enlightening, and that whatever it is, will help you up your business, your independence, or your life. I'm Kerry McCoy, and I'll see you next time on Up in Your Business. Until then, be brave and keep it up.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. For more of Kerry's interviews, click on either video on the right of the screen. And as always, thank you for watching.